Well, thank you very much, Charles, from our Enugu studio, and let me welcome you to our Abuja studio. My name is Mwaboze Njoko. As always, this Friday morning is going to be pretty exciting. I have two solid guests in the studio who will make the next 1 hour very memorable for us. I'm not going to introduce them yet. I'm not even going to talk about the topic. But first, let us thaw the ice. Can you please join us to watch what happened on the floor of the Senate yesterday? Well, all that altercation on the floor of the hallowed chambers of the Nigerian Senate, where I'm told very serious issues of national import and importance are supposed to be discussed. That altercation, sitting arrangement. Charles Dickens, as I always said here, has written that book in great expectations, and I keep repeating it. Ask no questions and be told no lies. I will not ask why altercations of this nature shouldn't erupt rarely when issues of critical national importance are being discussed, where people should not display this kind of favorite, very hot disposition to important national issues. Maybe there is something going on which I don't know. All I can say for now is, Honorable Senator, please switch off your mic. Good morning again and welcome to Abuja. There are issues in the polity that are going to engage us this morning. And the very first critical one we want to engage with is development in Benue State. 3 days ago or thereabout, the Legislature of Benue, that is the State House of Assembly, in a raucous and riotous session, suspended the Chief Judge of Benue State. Of course, the National Judicial Council stepped in immediately to say that that legislature seemed to be stepping beyond its constitutional boundaries. I'm not an authority. That's the first issue we will confront this morning. And let me give respect to whom respect is due. On my left in the studio, is Sam Kabo. Sam is an old friend, a senior advocate of Nigeria. I think I'll be pleased this morning to go through his lecture, his education on what is going right or going wrong in that action by the Benue State Legislature. Sam, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me again after a
very long time.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Also in the studio is Adekunle Oladapo Otitioju, PhD, also a lawyer of distinction. Otitioju, you're welcome to our conversation.
Thank you very much.
I understand that every lawyer is a constitutional lawyer. Is that right? Is constitution a special part of law practice that every lawyer does not get involved in?
Constitutional law is a compulsory course.
But there are those really who mind the details, who help us to understand governance, and there are those who help us to manage our companies well. They're all lawyers too.
True. You know, as you get exposed in the practice, you get drawn to certain areas, and sometimes after a while you get some form of competence that you identify with that makes you more proficient
in that area. And it's that well, I'm asking this question because Otitioju, PhD, is a constitutional lawyer, and I'm saying that because he will educate me this morning whether the Benue State House of Assembly is infracting the law, is infracting the conversation. The Constitution. The National Judicial Institute issued a very strong statement on Wednesday.
Yes.
To effect, first it admitted that it has received a petition against the Chief Judge of Benue State. I want to know, when that commission receives a petition, is there a particular procedure for looking to that complaint?
Definitely.
Please, can we get to it?
You know, when you write a petition, especially when you make some accusation or allegations against a judicial officer, it's a principle of law that you must hear that particular judicial officer, and the procedure usually is you put in your petition supported by an affidavit, and that same document that you submit to the NJC will be forwarded to the particular judicial officer for the judicial officer to respond. And if after looking at the response against the petition, the agency feels there is a reason to go beyond that and investigate, it can do that. But sometimes on the face of it, it can decide whether or not to ignore it, because sometimes on the face of it you see that the allegations are frivolous, but where on the face of the allegations and the response you see that the parties need further clarification and you need to make further investigation, then you can set up a panel that will investigate. And sometimes that investigation would involve a hearing, at the agency itself. The CJN would constitute a panel to hear that. That's usually the procedure. But specifically, you see, what I think is playing out here is, with due respect, the overbearing nature of our executive officers, especially at the state level. The Constitution is very particular, detailed, cautious, and methodological. For every authority that it creates, it gives powers and limits. And in order to have a very smooth functioning of the government, it creates a room for interrelations between the arms of government through what we call checks and balances. But overall, what the Constitution seeks to do is to ensure that these three arms of government, each one of them performs its own duties optimally without it at any point, being overbearing over the others or encroaching on the top of the others. Because when you do, you obstruct the what would I call now, the expectations of the Constitution, because the Constitution is of the opinion that if every arm of government acts within its powers and relate with the other arm of government only as provided by the Constitution, that will be what? A smooth, harmony and a free-flowing governance.
True governance.
And that by itself would also what? Optimize the functions of government. But where you have one arm of government having excessive power and tries to encroach on the other arm of government, you violate the principle of separation of power and the rule of law, because the rule of law is saying that you can only be acting lawfully as a public authority or public officer when you act within the bounds of the law.
I just want you to hold your peace there, because I still want to explore this matter of when a petition is written. What should be the NJC's due action and process of that action? I just mentioned that the NJC immediately reacted to that suspension of the Chief Judge. The NJC admitted that a petition had been written against the Chief Judge of Benue State. Yes. As the senior advocate has said, there could be stages. If they look at the petition, they make the petition available to the person against whom the complaints have been made. Yes. His response is expected. They look at it on its face value. If it requires setting up a committee, they do. Yes. If it requires his coming reporting there for a hearing, that will be done. Yes. Just I want you to add, as an ordinary person, this process seems to be long.
It seems to be long, but that is the process. I mean, the Lagos State has already given you a clear position.
I'm contending that it's long.
Now, it is not as long. The suspension of a chief judge of a state is not the responsibility of the state assembly or the government. In fact, it is an impeachable offense for a governor to suspend the chief judge because he has gone beyond the bounds of his powers. He's ultravised his powers. Now, the chief judge is a creation of the Constitution. And what it is only the NJC that have the right, after they have investigated, that have the right to suspend the CJ. Now, having received a petition, you allow the petition to run. How? They will cause the CJ to respond, to react. That's hearing. The principle of fair hearing. You must hear the other side. You have filed a petition before the NJC. You allow the NJC to also give the other party, which is the CJ, the opportunity to react. And having reacted, they will look at it on the face of it. And if there's any probable case, they will set up a panel to investigate. And hearing will commence, like everybody will lay before the panel their own evidences. And they will deliver a ruling. And if it is not, if the petition has no substance, to be dismissed. If it has merit, the CJ will recommend to the CJ, and the CJ will, the Chief Justice of Nigeria will pass the necessary judgment.
Now, Sam, these are members of the legislature, the law makers. They should also know the law. What it takes, because they operate the Constitution on a day-to-day basis. Let me be fair to them. Are they ignorant of the law? Are they ignorant of the boundaries that the Constitution, which they operate every day, has set out for them?
If they are, that would be unfortunate, but the Constitution says, or the law says, ignorance of the law is no excuse. And to me, I would not say they are ignorant. Rather, I would say they are mischievous. That's pure mischief. You see, and the good thing about the judicial process is this: you make the law, but sometimes you don't know what you've made because you do not understand the principles of interpretation of the law. The Constitution has, in its own wisdom, given that power to the judiciary. And the judiciary has, over the time, been able to have what? A pool of knowledge regarding that area. And that pool of knowledge, for we lawyers, we call it precedents and principles that are there in the archives. So we, the lawyers, usually our job is to find those principles and those precedents
and apply them
and apply them here. You see, most of them, when you talk to them, and they tell you, oh, go read section 292 of the Constitution. I say, come, it's your business to interpret the Constitution. Section 292 by itself does not really say anything. Go back to the powers of the agency. The powers are very clear. They have the powers of not just recommending for appointment or for removal. They have the power of control and discipline. They've given them that. And your own power that you feel is given to you there under that section is at the tail end after this procedure. You understand? After this procedure, there is even an authority that goes beyond even the issue of the NJC, like for the state, that the National Judicial Commission
at the state level
must start with the process and make its own recommendation to the NJC and the NJC. So you have that procedure laid down. You cannot say you are ignorant of it, because if for anything, before you take an action, even though you are the lawmaker, you must have legal advisor. They have legal advisor. The Speaker should have his own legal advisor. The State House of Assembly should have his own legal advisor. And I would not expect them to act in spite of the availability of those resources to advise them. Because usually they act on impulse, because somebody will just come and read to them those bare words of the Constitution and say, by this,
these are powers.
Yeah, and say, oh, I can marshal a two-third majority in the House and make a resolution and recommend it to the
governor.
The governor is done. You know, the Elero case in Kwara then.
Yes.
They said, no, you can't do that. Yeah, you have to pass through these procedures. And also, most of the time, for us who are practitioners and have seen it all, when you are giving your advice calmly and you put it there, look at you, they will leave you and go to the ones who would say, oh, leave him. He's talking law, it's too legalistic. This is political. There is nothing political in your job. Your job is only a job
within the law.
When you do it within the law. The moment you start innovating and you start acting outside the law, that's banditry. You understand? The Constitution is so jealous because it's the most powerful authority. It creates you. It is the one that says you are a human being. It is the one that says you are a Nigerian. It is the one that says you are a governor. It is the one that says what? It has created you and given you powers. And you know what? After giving all of these state powers, right? It has given these state powers from section 4 to, is it about 13 or 14, 13 of the Constitution. You see, all of those ones, the state powers are spelled out there. And it has, by its own wisdom, allocated it to specific authorities and expanded it further down the Constitution to say, this is what I have given to you. Stick to it. I do not anticipate that you would, because just like a computer, the computer, when you impute, you make some imputation outside its own anticipation, it will not work. It's the same thing about the Constitution. The Constitution expects you to act only within the law.
Okay, Otiti, he sued the word that tickled me, and he said, when they act outside or the provisions of the Constitution,
Yes.
it is banditry.
Yes.
When they act to undermine the provisions of the Constitution, is it not a coup against the Constitution? I'm just coming.
No, it is an
What is likely, because see, they are the legislature.
Yes, it is.
What every offense must carry its consequence. You cannot commit an offense and, like Jesus Christ, you are told, go and sin no more.
But
within the rule of law.
But unfortunately,
what is the consequence for the Benue legislature that is trying to plan a coup against the Constitution?
yeah, well, it's unfortunate. The consequence of such resolution is that it is an illegal act, and of course it cannot work. And that is why you see that the NGC immediately issued their own order that no, you cannot remove the Benue State CJ. It must remain there. You can't do that. Well, the Constitution has not spelled a consequence on the House of Assembly, clearly, if you look at it. But it is ultraviolence their powers, and that is what we know. And when something is ultraviolence your powers, it means you have no power to act. And when you act outside the powers you are given, it is an illegal act, and it will not be executed. It is just a futility.
Yeah, let me draw your attention to something.
Yes.
Because of the behavior of our political actors,
Yes, sir.
what the Benue State House of Assembly, if you follow its natural flow,
Yes.
natural course,
Yes.
is chaos and disorder.
Anarchy. Yes, yes.
So when an institution is going ahead
Is it not
to
the
create anarchy,
they recommended to the governor? So the consequence on the governor is an impeachable offense. I've said it.
By who again? The same people.
By the same people.
who's going to impeach him?
Let me make this point here, so that we too should not be absorbing ourselves of our own responsibility. You see, the governor, the president, to me, especially the single executive philosophy that we have, you understand, it's not a democratic institution. Never. It is a contractor who comes to you to say, vote me into office for this tenure and I will do this for you. That is the social contract that you have. But there is always that awareness that there is that tendency for you to be despotic and arbitrary and abusive of those powers. To limit you, the people have their own representatives. So the most democratic institution is the State House of Assembly, National Assembly,
legislature.
The legislature. That is the most
democratic
one that defines democracy, because what? That is the one that carries the voice of the people to the governance system. And it is the one that is supposed to form the buffer between this despotic tendency of
the
this
executive
bohemian that has been created and the people. So when they misbehave through any form of misconduct like this one, the people have the right of recall. You understand? They can recall their members. Anyone who feels so peeved by this can say, okay, you've sold out. You connive with the people, with the executive, when we are no longer what? Safe. Because I'm making this point over and over. I would rather stay in the enclave of a bandit or a Boko Haram than to stay in a place where you do not have a functional or effective or people responsive oriented legislator. Because you created a mammoth. You've created a devil. Most of the time, it is these institutions by themselves that create the despot. When this legislature own the executive, the judiciary looks the other side, what do you have? You are in trouble. You understand? So the people have to look at this. I do not, and I will not say the people have the right to do what Burkina Faso did.
No.
You understand? Burkina Faso, the students say, okay, you've been pandering. Whenever this rascal wants to stay in government, whenever he wants to be abusive, he comes to you overnight, you make a law, they start with them and sack them out. The moment they did, he ran away. Because what? That is actually his support there. Because that is the people's power. The people's power. Once they've withdrawn that, you know the consequence. So it is for us to monitor the behavior of these people. You understand? And it is because of that they give them money to come back at the end of the day. Because ordinarily, yes, they have the power to go ahead because they've given them, the principals have given them the authority to go and act on their own behalf. But for you to be a responsible agent, come back to your principles before you take certain decisive and impactful decisions of this nature. What are you saying? If you could just sit down, connive with the governor and remove a CJ, do you know what that one is? Let me tell you here now. I'm not going to name the state, but from experience. 4 of us, 1, 2, 3, 4 senior advocates, we tried to get somebody on bail from 31st of December. The person only came out yesterday. Only yesterday. From one bottleneck to the other, to the point where we now got the bill, the conditions became infernal. First, they said, go and get landed property, must be verified by the director of lands. You know what they did? They disabled the portal. Director nowhere to be found, so that is out of it, you can't get it. Why you now say come and vary the condition because this condition is impossible, they say go bring 400 million bond, a bank guarantee. No bank will give you that money except you go and lodge the money. Bail for a bailable offense.
Which is not supposed to be paid.
I'm telling you, in other places, that's an administrative issue. You just go there and they give you the condition. It is only when the conditions are onerous that you come to court. But here, this way. And I told my colleague, I said, is this not shameful? This is about the first time I'm coming to sit down to have to do, because what? This is what is happening because the CJs are so, I don't know what to say, but I'm telling you.
Okay, Dr. Sam, I will soon take a break, but before I go on that break,
yes, sir.
The CJ is the head of the judiciary.
The head of the court.
Of the court in that state.
Yes.
Removing him, suspending him, means suspending the headship of an arm of government.
Yes.
What could be the consequence of that for democracy in that state?
It's a collapse. It's a collapse. Because we have three, we have separation of powers, we have the executive, we have the judiciary, we have the legislature. The head of the judiciary is the CJ. And you cannot, by any stretch of your own powers, by the executive, remove the judiciary, the head of the judiciary. There's checks and balances in all this. Like I said, it is only NGC that has the right to do that. And if this happens, you have just created anarchy in that state. You have created a lawless situation. You have encroached into judiciary. You have collapsed the system.
Some lawyer somewhere, some judicial officer somewhere will be sitting in waiting for this chief judge to be disgraced out, and he comes in.
And it cannot happen again. It has. You know what? In Osun, they tried it. You know what happened? That judge, whoever stepped in, he is on his way out. Because now judiciary is going through some training. I mean, apparently before it happens, but now I don't think it can happen.
Does the law profession have the powers, the mechanism to stop an ambitious judicial officer to see it as an advantage, an opportunity?
The NJC has been doing that. The NJC is, to me, the most effective oversighter of all the oversight, even much more effective than the National Assembly, because it's, I'm telling you, it's very strict.
If you step in, you step into trouble. Okay, if you step into trouble.
Yes.
The Benue State situation doesn't paint a very palatable picture, doesn't taste sweet in the mouth. But those who are in the profession are telling us that, well, I think the matter will be handled.
It will be handled. And let me say this for whoever needs to hear. The judiciary needs to assert itself. You see, most of the time, the blame is not entirely that of the executive. Keep your lane. It is a job that you sought for. You are not recruited. You consciously applied
for it.
And you are appointed. You know the limits of it. Stay your lane. The moment you start scoring favor, the moment you start hobnobbing with the politicians, they call you at night to come and discuss. They call you. I have seen a CJ telling a state executive to say, "Oh no, I wouldn't do that." I said, no. I said, please, I didn't come here for this. I came here purposely for this. I have matters to do. And I was like, almost in my heart, I was saying, oh my God, how many of these are here? That is somebody who knows the power of that office. And you know,
and the responsibility of that office.
You know, Justice Aogi retired. She gave a lecture and she hinted at something. And when I did, I was calling some of my friends and said, I will send you this. He said, the executive never respected the bench until they did what they did to Ngige in Anambra, to say they can remove a governor because of what? The powers they have. They did. When they did, these people now said, we never really knew that this was. So that's why you now see them now sending in their wives, their daughters, everything, because what? They want to go and saturate that layer because they now know the powers of that arm of government. And to me, that power is much more. The moment they start doing the right thing, interpreting the Constitution without fear of favor, and putting these people back to like they did a river state to say, okay, we are a court of policy, and therefore we'll put this one aside. This is what we'll do. The moment they start asserting that, believe me, they will be more important than the governors. Forget about the money. Anybody who becomes powerful because of money is somebody who is an invalid, who needs a clutch, because that is his own clutch anyway. But when you know who you are, you don't need money.
By virtue of discharging your responsibility.
You know your powers, you know who you are, you know your worth. Believe me, you don't need money to assert yourself.
Okay. You are still watching the Signature Morning. We are coming to you from our Abuja studios. My producer was saying to me, your time is very short to take a break. Why don't you go straight away to the next topic? And we look at all this while we're looking at the suspension of the Chief Judge of Benue State. Now, Sam, in a letter, in the same letter written by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, for the first time, I must confess, I read the Chief Justice giving clear warning and stating that there will be consequence for this action. When he made reference to the continued meddlesomeness of state governments in the affairs of local governments, that even even after the Supreme Court judgment, some state governments are still finding ways to remove local governments. And he said that it was, let me pick his word, that it was a treason, and that there be consequences for it, because it is a different tier of government created by the Constitution with its responsibilities. And that the Supreme Court has added its voice by saying you don't have the powers after they have been elected to remove them by any means, except as prescribed by the Constitution.
Yeah. You see, the good thing about what we have here, I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity of meeting with the Attorney General of the Federation. When you see him, he's the calmest of everybody, but believe me, he may turn out to be the best of Attorney Generals we've had. Focused, decisive, unmovable. And many more things are going to come from him. And you see, he's understanding and has passed the message over and over, over and over, over and over. But let me tell you something, and this is also what I'm trying to say just in a past discussion. The Supreme Court can, on its own, declare somebody unfit for public office. Of course. Once they do that, assuming you're a first-time governor, you can't come back.
That's true.
They can do that. Yes. You understand? So most of these things is a political, if they drive that for any governor who ignores the very clear orders of the Supreme Court on the independence of the local council, that possibility is there. And I'm hoping that very soon they will make sample of one. Because we need that tier of government to be functional. We need it to be operative, because it is the one with odds. It is the one you find at the your back house. It is the one next to you. Until that one works. If you leave that vacuum would what? Be occupied by bandits. And who did they affect? You directly, not them. That is why if you go to places where we borrow, we cannot go and borrow
the system and inflict our own shortcomings on it,
and deliberately ignore the functional and most active parts of it. The local government system of the US, I'm using our word here, that's not their own.
The mayorals.
Not even the mayoral, they have their accountants. You see, it's supposed to be what we have here. You understand? They do not even have somewhat of a constitutional definition as we have it here. Yeah, they go straight away to the point, but we just pay lip service to it. That is where development is. Do you know why they can have a Trump as president and nothing happened? Because he's a verbalizer. He only acts on policies. He is not a contractor. You understand?
That doing the job
perhaps he can influence those big Pentagon contract, but he is not a contractor. He cannot. His executive cannot sit down to discuss contracts across the country. No, that is not his business. Most of the contracts, they come from below. Making of roads, making of everything, it is that country. And that is why it is where you pay your tax, that is where you have your benefits. That's where your children will go. If you leave that place or another place, you are what? A foreigner, you pay. You understand? Because the development has to be
at the county level.
At the county level, you have to pay, develop that place. If it is not developed, what do you have? This is why you have all the places where people should farm, you have bandits. Because we've left governance from that place, and all legs are here.
At the national level.
At the national level. And at the state level, what do you have? The state house of assemblies are not working. The local government council are not working. What do you have? You have an imperial governor. To the point that somebody was saying, if he wants to look for money and he really wants to be rich, he would rather be a governor than to be a president. Because to be a president, you must be very skillful and have very good thieves to steal for you.
So, because there's something intriguing, I want Otitoji to help me out. Politicians are supposed to play within the law. Yes. They are supposed to play within the law. Yes. The state governments know that within the law, the local government is a different tier of government with its own responsibilities. Yes. Why do they think? Why is it when I began from politicking? Because everybody who's come here to converse with me says no. The governors need the local government structure in times of election. What ought to determine the outcome of election? Is it not your performance, your competence, your redemption of the contract with the society which you made when asking for power? Why do they need to manipulate the local governments in seeking power and therefore undermining the constitution, now causing the chief justice, the minister of justice, to be so hard in his comment?
Yes, naturally, this is our constitution gave the state governors the supervisory right over local government by Section 7. Now, that Section 7 has been interpreted by the Supreme Court recently. Having looked at the situation in Nigeria, the Supreme Court used mischief rule to interpret that Section 7, which they are still saying they have right over. And that's my problem. They will still come and tell you Section 7. Section 7 has been interpreted.
Yeah.
In the case of AG Federation and AGIB and others. This 2024. Yeah. Now, they ought to allow the local government to run. State governors will stay, chairmen and their council members are to run local government. Financial autonomy is to be given to local government. Local government is a third tier of government, independent of the states. Because there is no how you are going to fuse state and local government together. Because we are local. Everybody in Nigeria is a local entity. We came from a locality. And the purpose of local government is for every individual to have a feel of a government, to be able to freely express themselves. Even if they can conduct the administration in their language, they are free to.
Yeah. Very
because
correct.
that is their own locality. But unfortunately, this system of what you are seeing now was brought in by Obasanjo when he first meddled with the funds of the local government and destroyed the system. When he asked for the money, he wanted to use the local government funds to pay Paris Club. And that was the beginning of the problem where local government will die. Even before the advent of democracy, the military respected the structure of local government. They respected the structure of local government. So why do we now say we have a democracy and we don't respect local government? We don't respect the third tier of government. We do now say that we are practicing true democracy. Because when you say that you are practicing democracy, you should be seen to be practicing it in truth and in spirit.
Yeah, I still want to stay with you because my time is almost up.
All right.
The guns are booming in Oshu State as we talk because of local government.
Yes. Yes.
Between the Minister of Blue Economy and Marine and Blue Economy, former governor of Oshu State, and Adeleke, the current governor.
Yes.
The struggle, the quarrel, the disagreement comes even from a judicial pronouncement.
Yes.
The judiciary says it was, these people were dismissed by a lower court. That lower court was not right. They should serve out. That's all. And therefore, the new government has found itself, most of its local governments belonging to APC. whereas it's a PDP government.
So you find it
Should
convenient
it be a matter that could create crisis if local governments are allowed to function within the local authority?
Sir, don't forget, sir, that in all this, there's like a toga, which is finance. They are using the money of local government. It is not that they love the local government so much. It is because they want to use their money. And so they want to put their stooge there. Who will be able to sign the monies for them? Or, of course, they can control and use to manipulate the system. So it is not that the governors love the local government so much. It is the money they are interested in.
Senior advocate, how do we get out of this mess? Because it's a mire.
We have to be very participatory in all aspects of our social status or strata. It is not just enough for us to talk.
Yes, sir.
Like he said, we are community-based. You understand? I've always said this: if you make life impossible for your councillor, he will make life impossible for the chairman.
Yes.
If you make life impossible for the chairman, he would tell the governor, rather come and take your job, because you know I can't go back there. And you understand? Civic culture has to change. We have to limit these people to their constitutional role.
Yes.
There is a purpose for government. All of us would have been in the bush, but the purpose
If not
is
for
us.
government.
We need a government to have a better life.
Okay, my producer is saying you have bust the time. You already done more than 1 hour. Did we know that? But the conversation has been interesting for close to 60 minutes. My producer is saying you're shooting beyond that as well. I've been conversing with, I told you at the beginning that I'll get educated. Sam Kagbo, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Sam, thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you for always.
And Otiti Oji, that is going to be my, do you know that person who sent you to me is a princess?
Okay.
Maybe we'll discuss that after this. Well, we have been enjoying ourselves this morning, but seriously speaking, trying to confront issues in the polity that should concern all of us. We keep doing that, won't stop. On Monday, we'll continue addressing issues of that nature. For this morning from Abuja, I want to thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for joining us on Good Morning or Signature Morning this morning. My name is Mwabo Zenjoko. Let's meet on Monday.